Hello everyone and welcome back to Chess Noob. This is Shant and Chandra, and what a game today we witnessed, guys, between Samay, Raina and Vaibhav Sethia in the COB All Stars day one round. Between them in the first round, both of them played just outstanding chess. Vaibhav Sethia played the best moves that a position in a position that can be played. He was excellent. He was excellent, nonetheless. Samay also played very well. He was there, he was down, but he hanged in there and then ultimately won the game because Vaibhav crumbled under pressure. So let us see how this game panned out. And we'll blitz through the opening after c4, f5, Samay playing his old favorite c4, and Vaibhav replying with f5, which is the Dutch defense, and we'll move forward quickly. d4, knight f6, nc3, d6, nf3, e6, bishop g5, bishop e7, bishop f6, bishop f6, e3, short castle, bishop d3, knight a6, and after h4, knight b4, bishop b1, h6. Here, so I played h5, which is a mistake, according to me, but it turned out that this h5 pawn was very crucial in the end game, because now if you see, the white king cannot castle because the pawn on h5 is weak, and whenever the white king will castle here, this rook will move here, and there is no one to protect the h5 pawn, and this is a mistake. Instead, he played now e5. uh, Vaibhav played e5, but a more better option would have been c5, strengthening, attacking the center, and also strengthening the knight on b4 with the idea of knight c6. If white castles, knight c6, dc5, dc5, and queen e2. If you take, I'll simply take. If you take the queen, I'll take with my rook, and the h5 pawn is weak, and in the endgame, I am better. So white will obviously play queen e2, and after queen e8, black is better in this position, only just because of this pawn on h5. Okay, let's continue. After e5, queen b3 was played, and I did not like this move because this was a mistake and gave black the chance of c5. Instead, white could have played a3, and after knight c6, knight d5, the position is completely equal. Anyways, after queen b3, Vaibhav played the best move here, c5, and from here his strings of good moves starts, guys, and all of them are top moves. All of them are top moves. a3, knight c6 with the idea of knight a5, and attacking this to queen and pawn on c4. D5 was played, which is a bad move because gives black a chance to play knight a5. Instead, he should have played d into e5. Nevertheless, d into e5, e4, f4, knight d5, knight d4, knight d4, and e d4. Despite this, black has a double bishop advantage, and even if you take on f6, I'll take with the queen, and I have an advantage in this position because your king is in the center, and if you castle on the king side, your pawn on h5 is weak. After queen a5 and knight a5, sorry, queen a4 was played, bishop d7, and white loses on pawn on c4, queen c2, knight into c4, b3, e4. Another excellent move, guys. Top move, top. Bishop into, if you take b into c4, I'll take e into f3, g into f3, and queen a5. Now these two pins are there in this position, and this is lethal, lethal, guys, simply lethal. King d2. Now another beautiful move, b5, breaking into the position, and this is another very good move. After bishop e2, what Samay blundered here with bishop e2, because he simply forgot that b4 can be played and the knight cannot move because this bishop is pinned. This knight is pinned by the bishop on f6. A into b4, c into b4, and king e2 was played. Interestingly, guys, the point is you cannot move the knight as well. If you move the knight to e2, I'll give b3 check and I win the queen. This, I win the queen simply. And after king e2, bishop into c3 was played, and this is completely winning for black. He's simply a piece up. We'll quickly move through the game and see where the position came. Queen d8, rook f6, rook g3, a5, rook g1, rook f7, c5, bishop b5 check. Another excellent move, but I guess he missed this move. I'll show which one he missed. After king d1, a4 he played, but I guess he missed this idea. He can take with d into c5, because here what after c5 what Samay was planning is, if you take, I'll play d6 and pin this rook and target g7, rook into g7 maybe. Although the queen bishop is here, but there may be some possibilities. But after bishop b5 check, what happens is that here you cannot play c4. But after bishop b5 check, what happens is that if you go when you go king d1, I can play bishop d into c5, because after d6 I'll go c4 and block this bishop. So this is something he missed. Anyways, what he played was simply brilliant. He played a4 instead, and b into a4, b into a4, bishop into a4, bishop into a4, queen into a4, and d into c5 is completely winning as well. He is completely winning in all the positions. This is probably minus 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know how much. Queen b3, and we'll simply see how he was slowly converting the position. King c4, rook a5, d6, rook d7, and here black was a bit uncomfortable, because now as you can see, his rook is here fixed, his rook is here also fixed, this bishop is kind of fixed in this diagonal because of the g7 pawn, so he was a bit uncomfortable and his time was very low. And this is what gave Samay the chance, and I'll show you how he crumbled under pressure. Rook d1, bishop f6, rook d5, uh, king f7, e4, takes, king e6, e5. Here also he thought that he is losing the piece, but this is also winning position, guys. This is also winning position even after even after losing the piece. He played what was rook d a7, and this is a blunder, and this makes the game a complete draw. But instead, he could have played rook a1 with the idea, if you take, I'll give a check, you move, I'll take your rook, pawn into g7, rook c3 check, king moves away, I'll take this pawn, you take with the rook, I'll take this pawn as well, and now simply I have two connected passes. If you give rook g6 checks, king d5, rook h6, rook h3, and I will simply move this pawn. Those two pawns are very fast and will queen any moment, because I'll go king c4 as well, king c3, rook h2, and this is completely winning as well. But he played rook d7, which I think is pretty normal for him, because he was under total pressure here. He probably had around 50 or 60 seconds in his clock, and after e into f6, g into f6, this is completely drawn, this rook endgame. Although Samay managed to win both the pawns, but this is completely winning as well, because after rook b7 check, this pawn ultimately falls. This pawn f2 is weak, h5 is also weak, so this pawn will ultimately fall. But what he played here was king g7 instead, simply rook f6, and this pawn is unprotectable, and this is a simple draw, because as you know, the h pawn will never queen, and the king is also near to the pawn, and h pawn you cannot win with the h pawn. But in the time pressure, he played king g7, f4, king f7, uh, and after king c4, king e6, he blundered, and after rook b6 check, Vaibhav resigned. But nonetheless, guys, this was one of the best games that I've seen both Samay and Vaibhav play in the entire time they have been streaming. And kudos to them, and I look forward to all the coming matches. We have all 7 days left for the tournament, still 7 days left for the tournament, and I'm very excited. Guys, if you have liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button, also subscribe to Chess Noob, and share this video as well with your friends. Till next time, bye bye, good night.